giving rise to various ideologies like that of capitalism and communism. However, the Indian context is strikingly different. Here it is the social inequality in the name of caste is the root cause for economic inequality. Thus, to an extent, even the Marx, that is Karl Marx, became less relevant in the Indian context as his principle, rather ideology, couldn't effectively foresee the caste-ridden Indian situation. More fully, the design is cleverly crafted wherein the labor is attached to each caste and ranked as per a designed hierarchy, with upper caste having reservation on white-collar jobs and menial jobs are reserved for the lower caste, and thus resulting in the grading of dignity, labor, and even the rights in accordance with the grading of caste. In the words of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, caste is not merely the division of labor, but the division of laborers based on graded inequality. This graded inequality is the most unique invention where one is placed above and the other one is placed below that tends to satisfy human psychology and ego, that someone is below me and hence implicitly and explicitly accepting or at the least accommodating the caste stratification in their life as business as usual. The irony is that this stratification is created through various religious texts and principles and in the name of God, wherein spiritual supremacy is reserved to a particular caste, which utilizes the spiritual supremacy as its capital, otherwise known as the caste capital, through which all other forms of caste stratification is justified and controlled. Thus, the stamp of religious texts with God and this business as usual approach of acceptance among everyone that someone is below the other made caste inseparable from their lives, and discriminations are often justified in the name of religion or God. And most of the time, discrimination took the shape of customary practices, receiving even legal and moral justification. Even those who indulge in discrimination often couldn't understand that what they actually does is nothing but a discrimination, but it is a standard acceptable norm. And that was a clever design created by this caste system. That is why the system made man to discriminate without even a sense of guilt or with a sense that is their birthright. Social reformers fought and are fighting against the system for more than centuries together. Buddha, the Hindu, or rather the Saivite reformer, rejected the caste system, leading to a separate religion called Buddhism. Ayodhya Narayana Guru made earnest attempt to reform the system. The contemporary reformers, notable being Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Periyar E.V.R. Ramaswamy. While Ambedkar embraced Buddhism with many of his followers, as he felt that caste system is deep-rooted in Hinduism, making Hinduism beyond redemption, Periyar stood back and fought against the evil. Periyar felt that democratization of Hindu religion won't be possible at the hands of caste Hindus, as they would want to maintain the monopoly, as they consider religion as their business to keep control over others, using multiple gods as their saleable product portfolio. Caste discrimination stems from Hindu religion, and God is used to augment this discrimination. Therefore, to this discrimination, Periyar was of the view that first caste system should be dismantled. To dismantle the caste system, religion should be made irrelevant. To make the religion irrelevant, multiple gods invented by the caste Hindus should be demolished and dismantled. That was Periyar's strategy. A god which discriminates his own followers on the basis of birth, which is the root cause of all evils in the society, cannot be a god, and it would be at the maximum a laundry stone used for washing clothes, Periyar said. If there exists a god, such god wouldn't have permitted these discriminatory practices, was the view of Periyar. Thus, what Periyar advocated was not conventional atheism per se. It is a kind of political atheism, where if God does politics, that is discriminates among its followers, such a god is not a god and it does not exist. However, still today, the society is not free from this evil. Further, globalization and migration of Indians to other parts of the world resulted in the spread of caste wherever Indians migrate, particularly the caste Hindus. Wherever they go, they seem to take God in their shoulder, caste in their heads, and humanity for the will of the human beings in their foot, resulting in spread of this discriminatory practice to Americas and even Europe, however advanced they are. Thus, even US witnessed movements and even ordinance against caste, so do in Canada, and the movement is gaining momentum across the world. To explain more on this, we have illustrious list of panelists today through A. Raja, former Union Minister and Member of Parliament, who is also the Deputy General Secretary of DMK, who is a strong anti-caste activist. Ms. Kshama Sawant, economist and author of the Anti-Caste Ordinance in Seattle, one of the first in the US, along with Raghav Kaushik, famous anti-caste activist. Kshama and Raghav were instrumental in various anti-caste movement and Seattle Ordinance against the caste. And Professor Dilip Mandal, senior journalist, who has written extensively on the issue. We will style this discussion in such a way that each panelist may speak for 10 to 15 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes at the maximum, followed by Q&A. I think Raghav have to leave early, so we'll start with Kshama. Raja is trying to, I think he has joined, but in any ways, I'll request Kshama to do the introductory remarks, followed by Raja, followed by Raghav Kaushik. Kshama, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who has joined into this Zoom meeting to discuss the question of caste discrimination and, much more importantly, caste oppression. Sorry. The victory that we won in Seattle is truly a historic victory because it made Seattle not just the first city, but the first ever jurisdiction of any level globally outside South Asia to win a ban on caste discrimination. And it has understandably and legitimately captured the imagination of millions of people around the world, especially in India, because it is the biggest breakthrough victory for the global fight against caste oppression in decades and has opened the door for potentially winning such a ban in other places. It's also significant because it is a rare offensive victory against the right-wing Hindu fundamentalist regime of the Bharatiya Janata Party and Prime Minister Narendra Modi in India. And I'm sure that many of the people who are watching this Zoom meeting are based in India, so none of this is going to be unfamiliar to any of you. As we know, under the Modi regime, which is backed by big business and most of the state institutions and corporate media, attacks against oppressed caste people have been ramped up and Islamophobia is being dangerously fomented. The Modi regime has also, as we know, has taken authoritarian measures that illustrate how they are moving steadily further rightward. Over the 3 years, the regime has passed anti-Muslim, anti-oppressed caste, and anti-poor citizenship laws. 3 years ago, they tried to do that. They shut down the internet for nearly 19 months in Kashmir. Also 3 years ago, and we're seeing some of the same things unfolding in recent events in Punjab. More and more activists are being arrested on sedition charges under a law that was set up by the British Empire in an attempt to undermine the colonial revolutionary movement at that time. And the regime has recently banned the BBC documentary critical of Narendra Modi. So in all of this context, what we won in Seattle has raised the sights of not only activists fighting caste oppression in India, but also many others who are courageously speaking out against the right-wing regime as a whole. And as a socialist, I will say anti-discrimination laws will not be enough to truly end discrimination, let alone oppression. Oppression is going to be endemic under a class-based society like capitalism. However, laws banning discrimination are crucial to win because they are a tool to fight back. These laws also politically educate working people and society and can be used to expose oppression. History shows that winning anti-discrimination laws, such as the one we just won, and the civil rights law in the US decades ago, winning such laws will require fighting movements that unite the working class, unite the masses to overcome the opposition of the right wing and the political establishment. And so our victory was only possible because we built a fighting movement using my Socialist City Council office and with activists like Raghav Kaushik, who's also going to be speaking today. Many Dalit-led Ambedkarite organizations, Bahujan organizations were part of the movement. We had activists join us from across the United States and also people from Canada. And a crucial reason we won was we had, as I said, tremendous unity, but specifically unity across caste, religion, and nationality among working people. We brought together, obviously, people from oppressed caste, but also Muslims, Sikhs, and dominant caste Hindus, and socialists like myself, union members, and white and non-white working people. And we, one of the things we did, which was very important, was to help American workers, or in other words, non-South Asian origin workers. That could also include immigrants from other regions, such as Latin American immigrants. But we wanted to explain the issue of caste to people who would support us if they understood what it was. And so one of the most important things we did through my office is publish a frequently asked questions document, FAQ, which explained what this problem was, why they should stand with us, and explained that if you marched with the Black Lives Matter movement, then you should stand with us against caste discrimination. Hundreds of people gave testimony in city council meetings, and over 4,000 working people sent emails to the city council and signed the petition from my office. Equally important, and this is extremely important, we did not back down one bit in the face of vicious right-wing opposition, the Modi-aligned right-wing. Instead, we exposed their lies, and we exposed the politicians who repeated those lies. For many of you who might not know, the city council in Seattle, it has 9 seats. It has been all Democrats for decades. For the past decade, I have been the only socialist. This is my 10th year on the city council. And the Democratic Party has some real differences from the Republican Party. Some of you might know the Republican Party is openly right-wing, openly anti-poor and anti-immigrant. The Democratic Party is more progressive on some issues, but nonetheless has lots in common with the Republicans. They are just as loyal to the interests of the billionaire class and the wealthy as are the Republicans. And the Democrats are more rhetoric than substance and really, really do not like to take any progressive stand on progressive issues or any bold stand on progressive issues unless they are forced to by movements of working people. Socialist Alternative, my political organization, and we have used our elected office for nearly 10 years, as I said, in a fundamentally different way than the Democrats and Republicans. We fight unambiguously for working people and oppressed communities. I am not a career politician, and our organization is a genuinely democratic one where members discuss, debate, and vote on what campaigns to run, who the candidate should be, and what the campaign platform should be. And our elected representatives are accountable to our membership and have an obligation to use their elected office to fight for working people and oppressed people. We're also different in that I take home only the average worker's wage and donate the rest of my lavish 6-figure salary after taxes to union strike actions and social justice movements as this one. That we built to win the caste ordinance. The other council members, the Democrats, they are not my friends or colleagues. My real colleagues are working people in the movements. Unfortunately, most politicians represent big business and the status quo, not working people. And I would not be able to consistently fight for working people and the oppressed if I based on my personal relationships with politicians or made backroom deals with big business. And so we have used this kind of approach with building movements and using our office to do that. And that's the basis on which we have won 4 elections in Seattle, despite the fact that big corporations like Amazon and billionaires like Jeff Bezos, corporate landlords, the Democratic establishment, all of them have strenuously opposed us and have spent millions of dollars trying to defeat us. And the reason we have won is that working people know that my office is on their side, and that's the basis on which we were able to win. We were able to make Seattle the first major US city to win the $15 an hour minimum wage. That was in 2014. And in 2020, we won the Amazon tax on big corporations to fund affordable housing. Raghav was also part of that movement. And we won landmark renters' rights laws. And in fighting for this caste ordinance, as I said before, we had to overcome the opposition of the Hindu right wing, which is not surprising to many of you. We were opposed by organizations like the Hindu American Foundation and the Coalition of Hindus of North America, which made absolutely false allegations about this ordinance. And in fact, our most high-profile opponent was the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, which, as I'm sure all of you know, and which is very close to the BJP and the RSS and has been implicated, among other things, in the 2002 Gujarat massacre of Muslims. We made it very clear to the Democratic Council members that voting against banning caste discrimination means they would be siding with the Hindu right wing. So we posed the question sharply: which side are you on? Are you on the side of those who want a society free of oppression, or are you on the side of the Modi right wing? One of the lies from the Hindu right wing was that the new law would be anti-Hindu and would target Hindus. Rather than respond defensively and treat this statement as legitimate, our movement went on the offensive and openly called this out for what it was: a bigoted right-wing talking point. And we explained that this is actually in order to malign the ordinance in a false way. And we should also note that the Democratic Council members were overwhelmingly not on our side in this fight, and not surprisingly to us. And initially, they echoed some of the right-wing's talking points, though ultimately all but one voted yes under pressure from our movement. But even on the day of the vote, they were hatching plans to delay or undermine the legislation. The morning of the vote, I received a phone call from one Democratic Council member who said they intended to bring forward an amendment to delay the law's implementation. The council member finally backed down, but only because our movement made it crystal clear we would expose them. In building our fighting strategy, we also warned working people that Democratic Party politicians will be loath to take a stand against the Modi regime in the context of the new Cold War, with the Biden administration and forces of American imperialism making overtures towards India in the Cold War against China. As some of you might know, President Biden recently said that India is a key ally in Washington's Indo-Pacific Strategic Initiative, and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has said that the US wants India to be part of the Biden administration's friend-shoring, quote-unquote, friend-shoring agenda. We need to understand this larger geopolitical context because it tells us something about the starting point of even local corporate politicians. This will be relevant for the fight to ban caste discrimination in Canada, as we're starting to build a movement to ban caste discrimination in British Columbia, and also in the state of California. There is a bill now to do this the same. But again, we are not going to win unless we understand what we are up against. And there are many other tactics that we can talk about. Maybe Raghav can also enumerate some of them inside the movement, where we had to have the correct tactics in order to be able to win. I'll just give you one example. When the Hindu right wing predictably attacked our legislation as anti-Hindu, one idea that came up inside the movement was that maybe we should ask Muslim activists to not be prominent in our movement. So we didn't agree with that, and we pointed out that such an idea was extremely defensive, and ultimately it would be disastrous, because crucial to winning is building overwhelming unity across religious, racial, and caste lines, and that was very important. So that's just an example of the kind of strategy we will need in order to win. And obviously, many of the points I'm making are relevant much more so to North America and the United States. But I think the basics apply to even the Indian context, because we've seen that the Modi regime has been successful in using a divide and conquer strategy, dividing people up, and in fact, dividing even people among the Bahujan community, because there isn't being a strategy put forward that will unite ordinary people across, the masses of India, across religious and caste lines. And that is exactly what we need to do. I'll just close by saying, Baba Saheb Ambedkar said that caste needs to be annihilated. I couldn't agree more. Of course, the question we should be discussing is, and I appreciate the points in the opening, is how caste will be annihilated. Just a couple of points on that. I mean, obviously, the caste system predates capitalism by thousands of years, and it's true that it is not because of capitalism that the caste system came into existence. However, I think we have to understand, and I speak as a Marxist and a socialist myself, that the source, just as the source of racism in the United States, the history of American racism against Black people is not that white people are evil and that's why they are racist towards Black people, and that's just how they are. It's really in order to justify the institution of slavery, which itself was an eye-popping source of profits for wealthy plantation owners, that the ideas of Black inferiority, false ideas were developed. These are utterly false ideas, but these had to be developed by the elite at that time, in the early days of American capitalism, in order to force society to stomach the unspeakable horrors of slavery and the Atlantic slave trade. And by the way, this also helped the bosses keep white workers and indentured servants in poverty and indebtedness by starkly dividing up sections of the working class and the exploited, while they, the elite, made off with most of the wealth that the workers' labor produced. So similarly, while caste system predates capitalism by thousands of years, at that time also the caste system at the time was consciously and systematically developed by the ruling classes in South Asia and other parts in order to exploit the masses of ordinary people by using divide and conquer strategy. So, fundamentally, it's the same process through which any kind of oppression originates. It's in service of a ruling elite in a class-based society. These are similar origins of misogyny and sexual discrimination as well. So what that meant at that time in the caste system is that it forced the lowest castes, the most oppressed castes, who were the most cruelly exploited and subjected to untold violence, but it allowed the ruling classes to divide up the masses in a way that will keep them subjugated. So, I think that's the relationship between class-based society, capitalism, and the caste system. And I think it is extremely important that we recognize that eliminating the caste system, eliminating oppression in general, will require fighting for a society that is not based on classes, but based on genuine democracy and equality, which in my view is a socialist society. And in order to do that, we will have to build mass movements of working people uniting. In the case of India, for example, it will require political organizations that bring together the masses across all of these divisions around demands related to cost of living crisis, as we have now, around the question of land reform. Those are the questions that will unite the mass of people and really help to build the sort of the conditions where we can eliminate oppression once and for all.
Thank you, Kshama. Thank you for your wonderful speech. And first of all, I would like to congratulate you and Raghav for this tremendous success in bringing out the ordinance and also creating an awareness with respect to caste in one of the most developed nations in the world, that is the US. Because many believe that the countries like US or Canada or even the UK doesn't have this caste system or doesn't face this caste discrimination. And thanks to all your efforts, Anand Raja has joined. So before going there, I'll just introduce you to she's the one who brought this ordinance on the anti-caste in US, which is being highly discussed and debated today. Before going to, can we take Raghav, because Raghav said he want to leave a bit early. Raghav is the anti-caste activist who is working in the tech space in US, who along with Kshama Sawant is instrumental in bringing this ordinance. Raghav, what is your experience with respect to this particular caste discrimination in the tech space? Because since you are in the tech space and you come from the Microsoft background, even in India, when we talk about, even in India, in the tech space and also in the higher learning institutions, this caste is considered to be a capital. Caste is considered to be a capital. And not only that, without even realizing, there are indirect infliction of caste discrimination. It may not be overt or explicit. For example, in IITs or in IIMs, even the open grading system, say for example, because most of the faculties are from the upper caste, and these upper caste faculties and also the students indirectly exert artificial pressure over the students, which the students from the lower caste will not be able to survive. And finally, it will be covered up, or it will be just said that the student is not able to cope up with the studies or the workload, and hence they gave up. You might have seen number of suicides which is happening in IITs and IIMs, but actually that is not because of the studies overload or anything, because every student who are coming to IITs or IIMs are passing that entrance exam, the most difficult entrance exam, and coming there. But it is mainly because of the systemic design which is created in the institution, which is percolating towards the IT sector also. There is a tech sector also, even in the companies. So what is your experience on that? How do you view and why you came into this particular field, even though you are in the tech space?
Sure. Yeah, I agree with the way you characterized. I mean, I went to an IIT myself, and your description of the kind of culture inside the IITs is quite accurate. By now, there is scholarship on this also, right? But my general sense at the time when I was a student, when I was not very politically conscious, but I still have memories of that time, was when I was in fact, IIT Chennai, Madras. So the time was that it was I guess the best example to illustrate the nature of the the covert discrimination was the attitude towards affirmative action or reservations, right? The prevalent attitude towards reservations was always one of contempt, and that this is something we just kind of have to tolerate, and we have to put up with students from oppressed castes who are coming in, and they're just kind of part of our system, and maybe they're diluting the quality of the institution. This was the prevalent dominant attitude among the dominant castes, right? And that, to me, is the best illustration of the prevalent attitude around there, and phenomena like suicides and so on that have like Rohit Vemila's and others. It's kind of the a logical consequence of that environment, you can say. All right. So it's not a surprise that, and because you're asking about tech sector, and that's the IITs are a big source of the funnel of at least the recent waves of tech sector based immigration into America over the last few decades, and so it shouldn't surprise us that similar attitudes carry over to America as well. And what I've noticed, and before I answer the specific question about tech sector, I want to talk a little bit about the overt covert distinction that you are making. I would say in a place like America, it is true that at least the extreme forms of discrimination that happen in India, like the kinds of crimes that are reported by the National Crime Record Bureau in India, that's not quite what happens here, right? What happens here is more subtle forms of bigotry. One big illustration of that is culture, right? In fact, this is actually true in India as well, but certainly in America, a big way in which caste legitimizes itself is through cultural artifacts. So they will see organizations like Brahmin Samaj of North America, for example, who they use the language of diversity and inclusion, right? They say, we are here to preserve the culture of Brahmins, right? This is what they will say. So it will look very benign, and they will sell it in a very benign way. But what they're actually doing is legitimizing a horrific institution. So that kind of thing happens a lot. There is a lot of debate about how caste is presented and religion is presented in textbooks, right? And that's a terrain where there's a major political fight that happens in the education system. But that is not to say that explicit discrimination doesn't happen. That does happen too, right? And in fact, the text of the ordinance that we worked on lists several examples. I can give you one example from my own experience in Microsoft, where one point to call out is like I was talking about affirmative action reservations, right? In fact, the scholarship on Hindutva, people like Christoph Jaffrey-Laut, they explain the rise of Hindutva. He's a scholar both, Jaffrey-Laut is a scholar both on caste and on Hindutva. And he explains the rise of the recent wave of Hindutva around Modi as, quote, counter-revolution to the Mandal Commission reforms. And what I observed in the tech sector happened around the time of Mandal 2, which is 2006, when Arjun Singh expanded the reservations to include OBCs, expanded the quotas, right? To include more of the OBCs. So at that time, there was a furious discussion of that topic in Microsoft email lists. And I wouldn't even call it covert, right? It was pretty blatant bigotry being expressed in the mailing lists by various employees. So you could see that kind of blatant bigotry being expressed. And there was really no consequence that any of those employees faced, right? They shut down the list itself, but that was the extent of the work that was done, because there were people there were Dalit activists who complained to the human resources, and they shut down the list, but none of the employees who expressed those kinds of feelings faced any consequences. So that was an example of the culture in the tech sector. In the Cisco case, as another illustration of the kind of phenomenon that happens, that's talked about in the ordinance text. There are even more blatant examples, like the sexual trafficking case that happened in America too. That was also the Bali Reddy case from about 2 decades ago, which was more over kind of a discrimination also. All right. So there are. This is entire spectrum, but it is true that generally it is on the more covert side compared to India, at least.
Thank you, Raghav. Thank you for your excellent summary of how this overt and covert operation of caste works in US. Next would be through A. Raja, Honorable Member of Parliament. Through A. Raja doesn't require any introduction because he is a known reformist, basically reformist, and I would say that he's a reformist who is always for fighting for the equality and justice in the caste and social sector. A politician for excellence, become a minister at a very young age, and have wide experience with respect to how the society operates, particularly coming from a Dravidian background. And the floor is yours. Unmute பண்ணுங்க.
Thank you, Pugal. Are you hearing?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you, Pugal. I congratulate all the members, those who are participating in the debate. It is a really, I do place my appreciation on this panel that America, USA is bringing an ordinance, whether it is going to be success or not. But this attempt was made by Periyar in 1957 that caste should be abolished in the constitution. But it was miserably failed. More than 2,200 or 2,000 people were arrested for 2 years for this purpose, 1957. In spite of that, it continues even in India. But the thing is, Ambedkar and Periyar correctly visualized that wherever Hindus goes, wherever Indian goes, then they will carry along with them the caste. That is happening in the US now. But however, even the Durban Human Rights Conference was not able to take inclined not inclined to take up this matter. But however, in the USA at least, this has been initiated. We should congratulate for that purpose. Let us come to the point. Why the Hindu right-wing people are everywhere agitating, whether it is India or America, agitating to protect the caste? The reason is simple. Pugal has already put it very clearly. Universally, what has been recognized? Division of labor. Without division of labor, a country cannot operate, a society cannot operate. But what has been very scientifically and theologically invented by the Brahmins and the upper caste in the name of Hinduism, that division of laborers. Now, where is the caste? Correct, there is a color difference, race difference. It is visible, tangibly visible. Even it is not correct, but there is some sort of visibility is there. But so far as caste is, Ambedkar correctly viewed this. It is a notion in the mind, state of mind. Caste is nothing but the notion in the mind, state of the mind. It is not a barbed wire. It is not a brick of wall to destroy in one night. So as long as this cult, the notion is in the mind of the people, you cannot come out from the caste. What we have to do now? See, correctly, the speaker whose Mandal who spoke earlier correctly, he was the IIT student, I think. See, I was in the parliamentary committee for social justice. See, more than 16 persons were committed suicide in the past 2 years. So the committee called all the directors IITs to depose evidence. What is the reason for the suicide? They were very clearly and categorically said, uniformly, with a chorus voice, that they are not able to cope up with the syllabus. Then I asked a very simple and legitimate question. Okay, what is the difference between the scheduled class and backward class for the admission entrance test? What is the marks secured by them? Then they place it 196.5 scheduled caste, 198 backward class. The riddle is, the surprise is, then I asked, what about the economically weaker section? It is 186. These people are telling, these people are not able to cope up with the syllabus. That is why mentally they were degraded themselves and committed suicide in order to say that I am not competent to go to the IIT. if a person who is getting 196 is committing suicide, I asked a straight question, why a person got 186 is not committing suicide? Completely stumbled, complete silence, no answer. Then I asked, it is because of habitual negation, habitual nagging. The reason is they are asking simply, what is your entrance mark? Then he will say, no, 196. Oh, you are scheduled caste. Oh, these people are coming for IIT. So this habitual nagging on the basis of the caste make a mental disease on those people who came through the scheduled caste quota and committed suicide. This is the caste, how it is working in each and every village. That is why Ambedkar called it caste is working in each and every village as a catalyst and chemistry. It will not be visible. So unless and until Periyar and Ambedkar teachings are taken into consideration up to the people, those who are living in the lowest ebb, the revolution will not come. It is a good measure in America that these people, our people are bringing this legislation. But bringing the legislation itself will not give solution. But it is a good attempt. If you are succeeded in America, please take it granted in 2024, in the election manifesto of DMK and Dravidian parties, this will also be one of the election promise. It can be, but you have to succeed this. That is why the division of labor, divisions of laborers must be thoroughly interpreted to the people, those who are suffering untouchability, those who are having backwardness. You see, what is the intellectuality of this India, of this country? Ambedkar clearly said, I quote, no intellectual class in the world has prostituted its intelligence to invent a philosophy, to keep its fellow men in a perpetual state of ignorance and poverty, as the Brahmins have done to India in the name of Hinduism. So, the intellectual class was created by Vedas, by Manusmriti, in the name of caste, in the name of Varnashrama. So, though the constitution came into existence, which says secularism, which says untouchability has been abolished, even Article 26 and 25 and 27, these are all internally connected, that the customs and privilege before the constitution came into existence must be protected in some sense. So they are getting shelter under the provisions. No, you should not interfere my religious faith. This has happened in 1987 also. The guarantee which was given by the British people, because of the Brahmins here, you can rule us, but you should not interfere with our Hindu faith, our religious faith. That guarantee was given by even by Dalhousie Prabhu. That is why these people are lightly forced to put up the lines that our customs prevail before the constitution should not be disturbed. But however, the equality was derived by Ambedkar in the constitution. Still, there is a defect that caste system is not able to abolish by virtue of the constitutional mechanism. So we have to do. That is why I am grateful to the people, those who are living in the America, sisters and brothers, that by bringing this legislation, you opened the eye for India also, where the parent country for caste. The caste has been propagated and imported and exported from here only to all countries. If you succeed in America, it will be a lesson to RSS wing in here, that caste should be abolished here also. The voice will be raised by the all democratic forces, by all left wings. So I congratulate that the efforts and endeavor that has been taken, that have been taken by the people in America, our friends. I congratulate. You must succeed. You have to take this torch to the highest level. We will be with you. Any conference for this purpose, we can organize globally, that India is the reason for the global disease in the name of caste, dividing the people on the caste line, dividing the people on the economic line by using the caste. Caste cannot be used only for social evil. It depends upon the economic evil also. Why a person is having landless cobbler in India? Not because he is having no knowledge, because he was prevented from education, he was prevented from knowledge, he was forced to live in such a condition. So property and education deprived in the name of caste, deprived in the name of religion. That is why reservation came into existence. So that we have to teach them, that we have to see, Ambedkar was clearly written in his book what Gandhi and Congress have done to the untouchables. World owes a duty to, I quote, world owes a duty to untouchables to set them free and break down the shackles. Now I rewrite this, world owes a duty to abolish caste in India, abolish caste in anywhere in the part of the world which was exported by India, for which we have to take Ambedkar, Periyar, Jyotiba Phule, that Dravidian ideology that has inherited in it. So Dravidian ideology is the only solution to abolish caste. There may be some differences. There may be deficiency in Dravidian model. Because when we enter into politics, little bit compromise must be there, I do admit. But in spite of the compromise, philosophy is in the Dravidian model. Philosophy is with Periyar. Philosophy is Ambedkar. Philosophy is with Phule. So you connect Phule, you connect Ambedkar, you connect Periyar. This triangular prism will give you a light even for Marx, even for Engels, even for Russian Revolution, and even for other revolution. So without abolishing caste, economic equality will not come, even political equality will not come, social equality undoubtedly will not come. So equality in the sense of political, social, and economical, everything depends upon the caste in India. People, those who are living Indians in other countries, also propagating caste in the name of Hindu religion. So Hindu religion is the biggest menace, not only to India, now it is a menace to the entire world. Unless and until we prepare to stop this menace, one day the Nazism, fascism in the name of Hinduism will go in any other form, any other modification, with some other shape, that the entire country would, the entire world will be put into peril. So I humbly request the efforts that has been put on this ordinance must have some possible and tangible results. If the tangible and possible plausible results come in our favor, then it will be a very biggest boost to Indian social reformists, that though it has been done in the other country, at least we can put in the orbit that caste should be abolished in India also. So we welcome all the measures taken by you, and we will be with you. We want to sail with you. Please come to India also. Let us have a conference. How the ordinance came into existence in the America, notwithstanding whether success are going to be defeated. At least such an ordinance should be piloted in the Parliament also, Parliament of India also. For that, we are looking forward with you. Please come, friends. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So thank you for your wonderful, intellectually stimulating speech as always. It is a pleasure to hear you. Just to, apart from US, there is also a proposal to introduce this anti-caste legislation in the school department in Toronto, Canada. Though it is not taken up, because I think, Raghav, I think it is being referred to the provincial level to redraft it. So there are some objectives, but they are moving ahead. So not only US, it is also getting into Canada, and maybe slowly it will go to Europe as well. After Professor Dilip, can we take some questions of Professor Dilip?
Please.
Yeah. So next one would be Professor Dilip Mandal, who has written extensively and has worked on the social justice issues. Mainly, Dilip Mandal represents here his experience with respect to North India, because
Hold 1 minute. One more thing, we have to teach the abroad people, those who are living in the foreign countries like the USA, that when the word Hindu came into existence in the Indian continent, there was no religion at all in the name of Hindu. There were Saivists, there were Vaishnavists, there were some other religion. Practices are there. But Hindu was invented or not invented. The name was given by the British people in 1785 in order to segregate the Muslims and Christians' faith. Say they want to call themselves as Hindus since they are living in the river Hindu valleys. So the Hindu itself is not the real nativity religion of this country. That itself is a bogus. That itself is a lie. So we have to teach them also Hindu itself is a myth, complete myth and lie. Please.
Thank you. So next would be Professor Mandal. After that, we'll take some 3 or 4 questions, and Professor Mandal, your experience with respect to caste and social justice. In your
thanks a lot, and thanks to DMK NRI Wing for organizing this. And this is happening in the month of actually what we call Dalit History Month or Bahujan History Month, because so many important things happened in the history and very important events of life of Baba Saheb Phule, BP Mandal happened during this month. So thanks for organizing this, and it's great that Kshama Sawant and brother A. Raja is here, and we learned so many things from you. I just want to concentrate on one aspect of this whole debate on caste going global, because earlier, even 10 years back, the claim was that those who migrated, they are not carrying caste with them, they are casteless or they are caste blind, and all the religion related to South Asia, the what we were watching on the front stage was like yoga, Ayurveda, dhyan, moksha, karma, and it's all that thing was being played out on the front stage, and at the back stage, everything dirty, everything related to subjugation, everything related to hierarchy, and everything related to segregation was there. So two different strategies were being employed. The best thing that is happening now is that the world is talking about caste, and it's not only happening in the US. Right now, I am in California. I'm watching a great event unfolding here, because the legislation is there on the table, SB 403. And yesterday I met Senator Aisa Bahau, and she is firm that she is with this legislation, and she is moving ahead, and she has got very good sponsors also to bring caste on the table, and so that caste can be banned or caste discrimination can be banned. So great things are happening. Kshama Sawant has actually taken the lead, and Seattle is providing a template and mechanism and all the nuances, and that's there in the bill of Seattle. So hats off to you, and I take a bow. Kshama Sawant, you have shown that this can be done, because the idea of castelessness was actually camouflaging the brutal aspect of South Asian religion, that it's not actually people who had migrated, they left caste behind, which is not true. We can see all the caste organizations here. So caste is nation for them. Caste is like a ghetto where they want to live, they intermarry and discriminate and exclude. Most of it is about exclusion. As Raghav rightly said, that it's very nuanced, it's very subtle. It's not that discriminatory that you will watch that somebody beats somebody or somebody practices direct untouchability. It's in the nuances, it's in the details. So I want to take only 4 or 5 minutes, and my remarks will concentrate to only one aspect: why this is happening now, and why the oppressed people who are not in great numbers here because of the first movers advantage. Most of the South Asians here are from the oppressor caste or upper caste, whatever you want to name them. So they oppressed people, they don't have numbers, they don't have money, they don't have PR agencies, they can't lobby, but still they are winning. So why this is happening? What is actually triggering the process of all these things? As many as 23 universities in the US now have caste as protected category, and these universities are real big universities. Cal State University, I think more than some lakh students are there. Harvard University, Brandeis, UC Davis, you name it, and it's all those universities are now banning caste. They are putting caste on their protected category list. They are banning caste discrimination. So we are seeing history in the making. And my hypothesis is that this is happening because of many reasons. There could be actually several reasons why oppressed caste people in the US are succeeding in getting anti-caste legislation passed, despite being a smaller and less powerful community. First thing that comes to my mind is the issue of caste discrimination has gained more visibility in recent years, thanks to the efforts of activists and scholars like Kshama Sawant, I can name some of them actually, Tenmoy Sundarajan, Suraj Yengde, and so many others. Isabel Wilkerson has written a book called Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent. That is a very important book. That book is now in the Oprah Book Club. And Oprah Winfrey sent this book to 200 CEOs of the top US companies. That book is there on the table of all those CEOs. I know that capitalism has very strange relations with the caste, but still caste is now being discussed. And this has led to a greater understanding and recognition of the caste-based discrimination, its impact on marginalized communities. So this is my first argument, that caste is there on the table, and because of more visibility in recent years, and because of the efforts of activists and scholars, now the world knows about caste, and they have greater understanding about the backstage of those so-called great religion. Second argument is that there has been a growing movement of solidarity and support from different communities, including allies from the dominant caste communities. Then that is very important. To win the battle, we have to win the hearts also, we have to win the minds also, and empathy in this thing plays a vital role and crucial role actually. The movement for caste equality has gained momentum due to the growing understanding and empathy towards the struggle that underclass is actually they are doing this. This is more about actually processual thing. The efforts of individuals and organizations to raise awareness about the impact of caste has helped to create a groundswell of supports for legislative action. So leaders like Kshama Sawant, they successfully, she has explained in detail how she built solidarities from different communities like workers, like LGBTQ activists, solidarity with different, even the dominant caste. That is very important. And my third argument is that it's happening because of the legal and political system in the US provides avenues for marginalized communities to seek justice and demand their rights. That's very important. It's happening in the US because US has actually those frameworks. It's very difficult to get it done in the India, and as Brother Raja knows that how Indian political system operates, because in 2010, you were there in the parliament at that time, we actually achieved a consensus on caste census, and despite that, caste was not enumerated in 2011 census, and caste was enumerated separately, and we all knew that this is not going to yield any result. And Indian government actually spent 4,800 crores of Indian rupees to just not count caste. So it's very difficult in India to get these things done. Despite consensus in the parliament, we failed to enumerate caste. And actually, this legal framework of the US, the legacy of anti-slavery movement, movement against Jim Crow, movements for civil rights, this is the legacy of the US, and it's good that US is taking lead. And those systems actually allowed oppressed caste people to advocate for themselves and their communities, and enabled them to make progress in the fight against caste-based discrimination. So these are the things that comes to my mind at this juncture. And US is on the way. I think it's very close, and it's not, that day is not very far than that when caste will become protected category in California, and there will be a day, and I hope that that day is not far off, when caste discrimination will become thing of past, and US will have federal legislation. So with that hope, and world learns from US and West. That is the legacy we have, whether we like it or not. So once that happens in US and UK, as you all know that UK Parliament actually discussed caste, and those debates are now again happening there. So, and Australia also, why not? So these are the countries where caste is being discussed, and it's all the countries actually, these countries are moving forward. So with that great hope and with that conviction, I think that we are moving forward, and annihilation of caste, as that was the great dream of greatest of our time, B.R. Ambedkar thought that there will be a day then this can be achieved. So we are on the path of those processes. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Professor Dilip. It was such a wonderful discussion. So now we will open the floors for Q&As. First, I would like to go with Mr. Thiru Soma Ilangovan. Soma Ilangovan is the founder president of Periyar International USA. Sir, please.
Thank you very much for
introduce பண்ணிட்டு you will just ask the question to whom.
I'm Soma Ilangovan. I came to US in 1971. What has been brewing underneath has come into the open now. But what we are trying to do is only putting a band-aid. This needs a surgical solution. Just like Honorable Raja said, Periyar went to the root cause and wanted to eradicate caste in 1957. The fact was not presented rightly to Pandit Nehru. He did not understand what was the protest about. They camouflaged it is anti-Brahmin and subsidize all the judiciary to give punishment to those who burned the portions of the Constitution. Now we are working in the United States, but this will not stop caste. Like Tamil Nadu, we have to bring about eradication of the name, caste name that is omnipresent in India. We also have to bring a constitutional movement. Whatever time it takes, we have to eradicate caste. That is the only solution. And 3 to 5% of the population has been fooling the rest of the population with the myth of Hinduism. Hinduism itself is a facade. Here, RSS has infiltrated every aspect of American academy, politics, and every institution. Every institution, I mean all the major institutions, have been infiltrated with RSS. We do not even know their names, but the IIT alumni, they control so much money, they are multimillionaires. They support not only here, but also all over the world, the Hinduism. They are flourishing in large number with very well-planned activities. So whatever we are doing, it's only a little bit, but the start has to happen in Indian Parliament, where Constitution should be amended to eradicate caste. That will be the beginning of the end, and we all have to work towards that. I appreciate all the colleagues in America who have fought against so much anti-protest from the well-funded RSS. It is a great fight, and we are winning slowly, but it is going to take a long time for us to bring it to the federal government level, even to the United Nations. We will work on that, but more has to happen in India. That is where it should start. Thank you all very much. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Gandhi, for putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next would be Mr. Navanitha Krishnan. Sir, please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Thank you to the panelists. I'm Navanitha Krishnan from Perambalur, living in Muscat. I have a question to our Honorable Leader A. Raja. We have in our Indian Constitution, we can easily change the religion, but it's not possible to change the caste from one caste to another. There should be a valid reason for that, might be protecting the reservation, but beyond that, is there any big valid reason that it cannot be changed? Because if a person is humiliated and affected, it's possible easily they can change the caste, and the problem will be, at least with respect to his dignity and sort of things, it will be a big relief for him. So is there any big reason for this, that they cannot change the caste? Why? And another reason is that request is that all the political parties in India, when they nominate a candidate for their election constitution, because of the vote bank politics, they still believe in the nominating a person who is belonging to that caste in that particular region. So is there any way to minimize this and to bring out a new model where a caste, creed are not coming into the picture, only the person and his abilities or his qualities can be portrayed as a candidate to nominate as a MLA or MP? These are the two questions, sir.
Shall I?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, please.
I think that your first question, why people are not permitted to change their caste. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
See, Ambedkar exactly dealt with all these questions. You have correctly said it, you can change the religion. But within the Hindu folder, the Hindu religion is nothing but Ambedkar quotes assortment of castes. If you are deleting caste, then virtually you cannot be Hindu according to the customs and usage and the Vedas. As long as you are a Hindu, you must say under the Hindu fold which caste you are belonging, which Varna you are belonging to. So the change in the caste Varna system is rightly described by Ambedkar that it is a vertical system, not the horizontal system. In the horizontal system, if the one ladder, one chain is missing, then you can jump into another chain. Whereas Varnashrama Dharma and caste system that has been very carefully and cunningly built in such a manner in the vertical system. That is, he correctly put it, a palace was built without staircase. How is it possible? So, staircase is the caste system for Hindu empire. If you want to remove the caste within the Hindu fold, that you cannot go to the top, or the entire system will be collapsed. So, changing the caste is completely prohibited in the Hindu religion. That religion was recognized as a religion under the constitution. So, as long as Hindus recognize as a religion the constitution, indirectly, Hindu religion protects caste system. In other words, again I repeat it, Hindu religion is nothing but assortment of caste. Without caste, a person cannot be Hindu. Take it granted now. People are coming to Coimbatore for Sadhguru. I interacted with so many people in the flights, white people. They love Sadhguru. We want to live here itself. Then I put a question, can you convert into Hindu? They said, no, it is not possible. Why? Which caste I can be placed in the Hinduism? So people can go to the Christianity, but Christianity does not having caste system in the Bible. You can go to Islam. Quran is having no system caste. But whereas if you are coming to Hinduism, immediately your custom says, okay, you are a Hindu. What is your Varna? What is your caste? So without Varna, without caste, you can't be Hindu. That is the riddle. Understand? Okay.
Okay, sir. The second question related to the vote bank politics and the caste nomination, sir.
No, see, this is what we call, as long as caste is there. In this country, caste is a factor to determine your social status, economical status, and political status. That is why Constitution was enacted in the Parliament. Ambedkar very clearly warned the system. We entered a new life, whereas we are having one man, one vote. The vote is same value. I am having the same vote. In my village, a Brahmin or a backward class or a forward class community will have the same vote. This is in social life. But coming for the political and economical life, the value will be differ. Unless and until we are going to eradicate the difference, social order, educational order, economical order, and political order, one day the constitution will be thrown out. He won't. That is why when we are having equality, maintaining equality in the vote bank politics, that equality is not available in the social orbit and the political orbit. As long as we are achieving the equality in the political orbit and social orbit, this caste is the tool to measure your height. So in order to achieve a egalitarian society, we want to maintain your caste, because whether it is you are socially, educationally backward, or your community got the full education, full civilized society, everything. So we are having this caste system to avoid inequality in future. But people are interpreting either way. No, you are claiming equality, but still you are finding out which one is the caste. Till 1931, the last census which was done by British people, Hindu Mahasabha and RSS pleaded before the untouchables, please enter your name, register yourself as a Hindu. Because till 1931, no untouchable, no unseeable, no unapproachable people in this country never felt that they are Hindus. These people very forcibly pleaded them, you are Hindu, you are Hindu, you are Hindu, you are Hindu. And accordingly, British did it because of the pressure came from the RSS and the Hindu Mahasabha. Okay.
So we'll take two more questions. Next one would be Mr. Kumaresan. Sir, please introduce yourself and ask the question. Mr. Kumaresan? I think he's not there. So next one would be Mr. Himrose.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you, Pugar, and for organizing this nice Zoom meeting. And I do come to your DPF forum on the Twitter, which is a very, very useful one, I should say. And many congratulations to Kshama Sawant in getting this ordinance in United States. My question to our Honorable MP A. Raja is because it came out of a huge discussion we had today on Twitter spaces on the OBC reservation. And I could say, the union government says, sir, the OBC representation in government jobs, in union at the central government jobs, is only about 27%, only about 27% from 2014 to 2021. I've got some figures in front of me, which says, especially Group A and Group jobs, the representation of OBC is only about 16%. It should have been at least 22% according to the, at 27% according to the new Supreme Court law. And for the SC is 12%. It should be 22%, but it's only about 12% actually. Whereas the open category, the job representation in Group A and Group B is around 60%. That means they have already crossed 50% quota. So the 50% quota is only for OBC and SC/ST. We clearly are missing higher representation of OBC, SC, and ST appallingly in Group A and Group B jobs in union government. Our honorable member of the parliament, Raja Anand, just said that he belongs to that social justice committee he worked in. Hopefully, can the social justice committee look into these representation and do something to improve them at the Group A, Group B level jobs? Thank you. That would be my question. First question.
No. Yes, sir. We are putting pressure on the when the officers came from the department and the corporations, those who are supposed to implement the OBC reservation, SC reservation, are always telling that, sir, we published the, we called for the jobs, but competent people are not available. No resolution, no solution at all. That is why I'm telling now. 196 schedule caste, 98.5 BC, 186 EWS. So these people will say, see, even this government for past 10 years, this BJP government for past 10 years, not ready to incline our demand that you file a white paper for OBC and BSc, how far this legislation has been adopted, fulfilled. They are not coming out. On the contrary, they are telling, because of the financial crunch, sometimes we are going for outsourcing. And appropriate competent persons are not available in the SC and OBC. In technical cadres, they are prescribing very artificially that these subjects should be like this, qualifications should be like this, knowing fully well that it will be suitable to a Brahmin, it will be suitable to a upper caste. Then automatically your application will be rejected. So in such a way, so many things they called for, they attended the interview, non-competent. And they will not give promotion due date. And some of the posts were not at all called for. And they are getting outsourcing, saying that no, financial crunch is there, money is not there to give salary. So that time being consolidate pay for 10 years. How much? 15,000. 15,000 for 5 years. Then they will bring another GO that those who are working in the government for 15 years can be made as a permanent staff. So no reservation. So these people are finding so many ways how the reservation can be superseded, how this reservation can be completely deleted from the practical adaptability.
Thanks, Anna. I mean, our country has got 52% of population, OBC population. It is a joke that they can't find suitable people to appoint in these jobs. I completely agree with your explanation, but it is quite appalling. That's one question. So second question is,
yes, I think let's confine to one question because many others are asking. I need to take, or you ask the question, every question is answer because.
Okay, I'll give. I'll just quickly ask this question. No. In Tamil Nadu, Kalaignar has introduced a 200 point system of reservation, whereby ensuring that we have social justice. Whereas in the union government, it is 13 point system. That is what is hurting us. Can our beloved MP can throw some light on us? That will be my question. Thank you.
Okay. So that combined our answer, otherwise it will take time. Sorry. The next one would be Mr. Hubert. Hubert, please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Well, my name is Michael Hubert from Chennai, India. I'm very happy to see all of you, especially in America, that you're taking such a big effort. This has to continue. And I'm very grateful to DMK government, which has addressed many issues. And it's the time that we have to be supportive to them. Well, somebody remarked that we may look very minuscule in addressing the problem against the casteism and other things, especially which has moved into America and Canada. What I tell them is like, see, we may look very small. The war is like between David and Goliath. So that's what I can say. Well, I am an activist on a Dalit issue on intercaste marriages during my college days. I want intercaste marriages to increase. This is what is my view. It's not a question, it's an observation. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Next one would be Ms. Divya. Could you please introduce yourself and ask the question?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Divya. So I'm from a reputed organization in Chennai. So the headquarters, our headquarters is in DC, which propagates the anti-racist, anti-casteist, and anti-ethnicity propaganda. But within Chennai level, it's very difficult for us to bring that propaganda into our organization. Though being a diversity inclusive advocate in our organization, I'm not able to introduce anything within the organization, considering the fact that the majority are the so-called upper community people. So they become the upper community within the organization. They become the majority in the organization and minority in the social side as well. So as a DNI advocate, how can I make my smallest contribution to the organization? That's my question.
Okay. While Raja sir will answer, you can also just send your number and contact details in the chat inbox. We'll get back to you on that also. Next one would be Mr. Manish Singh. Mr. Manish Singh, are you there? Okay. Or Mr. Vinod Kumar? Manish Singh. Okay, Mr. Manish Singh. Yeah, quickly, please unmute yourself and ask the question, please.
Mute. No, it's not coming. Not unmuting.
Yeah, we are able to hear you. We are able to hear.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm very much impressed by Mr. Raja and Mr. Kshama Sawant's work. So my question is, sir, I'm not a little bit naive on this matter.
So you're from, and you're just introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, yes, I'm speaking from Mumbai, although I belong to Lucknow. My question is, sir, I'm a little bit naive on the matter of caste and issues that you've been talking about, but little bit that I understand after listening so much, that when we're talking about casteless society, for once I felt that it is a little bit an utopian thought, which cannot be achieved by a constitutional act itself. I believe that it will require a little bit of socio-religious movement to achieve a casteless thought. So I think it would rather be a more intelligent approach to become more active in announcing our caste and showing off our social status and caste instead of trying to suppress it or hiding it, because that might lead to things becoming more covert and more dangerous for the people. So I think our intellectuals from our community should focus on the other approach of instead of trying to achieve the casteless society. That's one thing I would like to discuss or bring to your knowledge. And second thing, we have been talking wholly throughout about the reservation, which is referring something to the jobs. Whereas in the discussion that I heard from Ms. Kshama Sawant, she was talking about how reservation and caste is connected with capitalism. So that thing should bring to our idea that we should also be focusing on encouraging our people to create capital and to get into business and entrepreneurship instead of focusing all through into the reservation, which is something referring only to the jobs and employment, where there is not much of capital, and somehow it is again leading us back into subjugation by the ones who own the capital, which in this current circumstances are the upper caste elite people. So these are the two thoughts I think we should be working on. It is my novice idea, but I wanted to put it. Thank you.
ரெண்டு கொஸ்டின் கேட்டு முடிப்போமா அல்லது இந்த இதுக்கு ஆன்சர் பண்ணிட்டு அடுத்த கொஸ்டின் கேட்போமா? எப்படி டைம்
முடிச்சிடலாம்.
இத சொல்லிடுறேன். ஓகே ஃபைன்.
See, I think that the first question, how 50% of the backward reservation is meant for backward class and scheduled class is not achieved because of the very planned and surreptitious manner by the BJP government. I set out the reasons. The only thing is, unless and until the political change in the government, in the center, in the union government, we can't suggest anything. And if at all you suggested something, it will be defeated by them. Coming to the intercaste marriage, yes, it was suggested by Ambedkar also to annihilation of caste. It is one of the tools, not the exclusive tool. But even after intercaste marriage, out of the matrimonial abode, the child born in the intercaste marriage, which will be the caste for the child? You go through the records, go through the experience, past experience. If a person belonging to forward community marry a girl in the backward class, he prefers only his name, his caste to the child. If a person plus backward class married a scheduled caste woman, he prefers only backward class name. Even in the caste hierarchy, out of love, the marriage took place, no doubt. But after the marriage, after the life started, inherently, the inculcation in the mind for the family male that he wants to have his caste to his son or daughter. There is a question of abolition of caste. That experience miserably failed in India. I have come across many cases, whether mother or father, who is the dominated or upper caste, they wanted to call their son and daughter by the name of the upper caste alone. They are not ready to give up the caste. So miserably, in that sense, it was not proper to say that is the exclusive solution. Then coming to the sister's question, that in some of the organizations, those who are having upper hand with upper caste, we are not able to deliver up things. The only thing is, you did a mistake. How can you expect that a organization dominated by the upper caste will give you justice? Ambedkar was miserably failed in all these aspects. He tried his level best, but ultimately he came to the conclusion that the Hindu mind is always attached to this caste conscious. So unless and until, again I am telling, it is a state of mind, it is a notion in your mind, it is not a barbed wire, it is not a brick of wall to break it in 1 minute or 1 second, one day or 1 month or 1 year. It is a 2000 years old phenomena that has been inculcated in your mind without any physical reason, without any tangible reasons. You cannot identify through nose, through eye, through your face, who belongs to which community, like other Negroes or some other Mongolian or something else, which is a little bit visible, even though that discrimination is not accepted, should not be accepted. But here, even the physical changes, physical differences are not at all there. When 60 people is traveling in a bus, I challenge, you give it to an RSS person, you give it to a BJP person, if you are able to substantiate Hindu religion, I will salute it, provided you have to list out the caste of the name by seeing the face, by seeing the character. You can't. It is invisible. That is why caste is a notion which was very beautifully articulated and invented and codified by the people, those who are in the social highest order in the name of Brahminism, and they put it all the things through the Veda and Manusmriti. So our only thing is you have to educate the people. First of all, even for the OBC says that you have been deprived of education for 2000 years, you should not feel that we are inferior to anybody. A scheduled caste man, take it Raja, I must be very categorical. I am second to none getting knowledge. I am second to none to deliver things, if it is possible, if it is properly nurtured with me. So education is very important, awareness is important, preaching is very important.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So last two questions. One is from Hitendra Pitadia. Sir, please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Hello, good evening. I'm Hitendra Pitadia. I'm a chairman of Gujarat Congress SC department. One information thing is, my question is to Raja sir only, that you discuss in length about caste and marriages and Ambedkar rights, but the thing is that in 1916, Baba Sahib Ambedkar in his first volume, on page number 6, he written about that if Hindus will migrate in big numbers to rest of the world, caste will become a global problem. And after 100 years, it's become reality. Today, this was been written in 1916, and in 2023, we are facing the same thing, that caste is a global problem nowadays. And what about what is the solution of this thing? If embracing Buddhism is not the solution, because what happened in Gujarat recently, day before yesterday, some 10,000 people left Hinduism and embraced Buddhism. But again, what happened? After 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, they're again worshipping the Hindu gods and goddesses. They are celebrating the Hindu festivals. They are not coming out of these Hindu classes. So what should be the solution?
See, I think that the only solution is now, knowingly or unknowingly, these upper caste people in the name of Hinduism, they wanted to propagate Hinduism and casteism everywhere. They migrate to the other countries. Right or wrong, including the Congress government, did a grave mistake that more than 3 or 4 times, when the Dalit movements wanted to raise the international forum, this issue, where the Human Rights Commission, World Human Rights Commissions, like a conference, like lastly, I think that it was held in the Durban, where even our Dalit Malay wanted to raise this issue. But government of India says, no, it is an internal problem. We enacted the constitution, we abolished untouchability, so it should not be discussed here. We are enacted so many laws domestically for caste discrimination. So when we legislated so many laws, even in the constitution itself, against untouchability, against the caste, we ensured in the constitution that secularism, casteless society in the constitution. So when the constitution came into existence, these people are having no right to put forth their argument before the international forum. I think that if the other government comes in 2024, frankly speaking, even including DMK, we have to change our mind. This is not a domestic problem no more. This is not a problem of India no more. It becomes the global problem, not because of us, not because of OBC, not because of SC. because of the upper caste Hindus who migrated to USA, who migrated to UK, who migrated all over the country. They wanted to have again Hindu imperialism. That imperialism must be destroyed unless and until this issue has been dealt with World Human Rights Organizations, and the discussion and deliberation should be permitted internationally. Again, I quote, this caste system and untouchability system has to be removed by the world. The world owes a duty to untouchables. I reread it. World owes to all OBCs and SCs to remove their shackles.
Yeah,
We have to do in the government comes.
Last two questions, we'll finish it. And let us be very brief on the questions. Saravanan from Leeds, then Vinod Kumar and Brinda Chinakumari. Saravanan, please go ahead. Please be brief.
Okay. Thanks, Pugal sir. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you. Please.
Okay. My question is for our Raja Anna. Sir, it is a question regarding an area of expertise which we both share, IT. You've been the IT Minister of India for so many years, and you've created a communication revolution. But one thing that we've not had in the past 10 years is we've not had a Dalit as a CEO of a top-notch IT company in India. If you take the Nifty 50 companies, we've not had many Dalit CEOs. If you take the top 30 Sensex companies, private companies, we've not had any Dalit CEOs. What do you think the DMK can do, or what do you think the progressive forces can do to kind of encourage private sector to uplift the talent of people who are oppressed?
And okay, next one would be Mr. Vinod Kumar. In the question, close, Mr. Vinod Kumar.
Yeah, Pugal, thank you. Able to hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I am Vinod Kumar. I'm an IT professional from Chennai. Firstly, thank you for giving us such an enlightening evening. So my question is like the RSS and other right-wing organizations are aggressively promoting their ideologies with the teenagers and the young adults within the age group of 25, right? So like not only in India but also in abroad, they are doing it. So as to counter that, like what should we need to do from our end? Like Anna during his briefing, he mentioned like we need to join together across the world and how to promote more sessions. Like is it possibility? Like how feasible it is? I just want to hear from Anna.
Yeah, the last question from Ms. Brinda Chinakumar. Could you please ask your question so that we can close it?
Yes, sir.
Please
Sir, yes, I am comfortable to ask a question in Tamil, sir.
Yeah, of course, please.
Okay. Anna, vanakkam. ஆணவ கொலை தடுப்பு சட்டம் இயற்றுவதில் தயக்கம் ஏன்? இல்ல அது விரைவில் இயற்றப்படுமா? அதை பத்தி அண்ணா ராஜா அவர்களிடம் கேள்வி.
Okay.
நன்றி.
That's it.
So I'll come to the first question.
Yep.
First question, CEO in the private sector. So how can we expect that the private sector can do justice for Dalits? Because the foreign disinvestment policy, 75% of the foreign investment came from abroad. By whom? By upper caste people, those who are living in India, is inviting FDI. The money came from abroad, but the manpower and formula and production are being done by the Indians. No doubt that investment will come, but the institution will be run by the Brahmins and upper caste people. When the Brahmin and upper caste people are running the business by using the foreign fund, you can call it private sector, private organization. Still, money may be the foreign money, but actual administration is Hindu administration, Hindu mind. As long as the administration is Hindu mind, they will not accept OBC, they will not accept SC. So again, I am coming to it. Unless and until this mental change is brought into existence, you will go everything like this only. Second question, another brother asked me about the RSS ideology. RSS ideology, see, how dare they are using the institutional approach. Supreme Court, Election Commission, Parliament, Assembly, all institutions are very cleverly taking into their account to propagate that ideology. See, take it granted for Savarkar. Savarkar was acquitted for not adequate evidence established before the court. It is true. Later, in 1960s, Kapoor Commission was appointed to inquire into the whole matter. The matter was scrutinized very micro level and it came into existence. Without Savarkar, the Gandhi assassination would have not been succeeded. It is there still in the report. But how dare the Savarkar portrait was brought into the central hall of the parliament? How dare these people are telling that no, Savarkar is the national patriot? How they say no, he never bent before the Supreme Court, the British people. See, the categorized lie is crystallized as truth and patriotism. The entire press was taken by people. Press has been taken by these people. Supreme Court has been taken by these people. Judiciary, executive, legislature, everything taken by these people. So unless and until a political change in 2024 is going to be taken place, you cannot stop this. The country will go for peak. Then the fascism and Nazism will rule this country. I think that I am not a believer of God unless and until we are united together in whole India, those who are having secular mind. We cannot defeat these people. We have to believe the nature that what end that has been given to Mussolini, what end that has been given to the Hitler must come these people also. For that sake, we have to unite it.
Thank you, sir. So, can you close it because it's time you also have to go have dinner. It's been
yes, yes.
Yeah, there are many people raising. There are many people raising hands, but it is too late for. Next time we will.
Let us have another discussion in Tamil.
Yeah, we will have another discussion, and I sincerely thank.
Tamil கேட்டாங்க ஆணவ கொலை கேட்டாங்க.
ஆமா.
ஆணவ கொலை கேட்டாங்க. ஆணவ கொலைக்கு வந்து ஒரு ஸ்டேட் லெஜிஸ்லேஷன் பத்தாது. ஸ்டேட் லெஜிஸ்லேஷன் மட்டுமே ஆணவ கொலை தடுக்கும்னு சொல்ல முடியாது. ஏன்னா ஐபிசி வந்து உங்களுக்கு சென்ட்ரல் ஆக்ட். நீங்க வந்து ஆணவ கொலை வந்து ஐபிசிக்கும் ஆணவ கொலைக்கும் சென்ட்ரல் ஆக்டுக்கும் ஸ்டேட் ஆக்டுக்கும் பிரச்சனை வந்துச்சுன்னா சென்ட்ரல் ஆக்ட் பிரிவேல்னு சொல்றதுக்கு RSS ரெடியா இருப்பாங்க சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் மூலமா, ஹைகோர்ட் மூலமா. So this should be again legislated by the central government. That will be safe. Even otherwise, it can be taken. நம்ம முன்னெடுக்கலாம். ஆணவ கொலைக்கு சட்டம் கொண்டு வாங்கன்னு திராவிட மாடல் அரசு மத்திய அரசாங்கத்தை அடுத்த தேர்தலில் வலியுறுத்துவதற்கான வாய்ப்புகளை நாம் செய்யலாம்.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time and participating in this discussion for a very long time. In fact, Raja he has joined from Ooty, where the connectivity is also very low, and staying for a very long time, asking, taking the questions and patiently answering them. Thanks a lot for your presence. And I would also like to thank
you.
Other panelist Kshama Sawant, who has successfully brought this legislation along with Raghav Kaushik, which will set a precedent for the other countries also to follow their fight against the caste. And I would also like to thank Prof. Dilip Mandal for joining us and enlightening us with respect to the practices the North India follows. And once again, I thank the participants actively participating in the late in the night. And once again, I thank each and every panelist. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.